Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I would like to talk to you about something. Uh, About 2 weeks ago, I did a reading asking about myself and about my job search and what was happening with that. And the cards I got were very confusing. They were very, they seemed to imply that it wasn't going to work out. And I was trying to be optimistic and saying, well, maybe it will, maybe it won't, I don't know. But it didn't. And I was very, very devastated yesterday when I found out. Okay, I got the email came on the 5th, but I didn't really check my emails all too extensively until yesterday. And the reason for that is because I get so much junk in my email box that I just have reached the point where I just don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to even open the email box because there's so much junk that comes in. So amidst everything that came in yesterday, I got the notice that they had taken somebody else or that, which I perceive as just blah blah. Um and the reason is because 2 weeks ago when I had gone there to speak to somebody, the lady said that at the moment they weren't looking for anybody. But she said I could bring my resume and they would hold on to it. So that's what I was told. And I was like, okay, yeah, that sounds good. So I took the resume the following weekend to the place, and 2 days later, they sent this email saying that they picked somebody else, which I thought was bogus. And I don't know what to make of it, but if that's how people behave, then maybe it's better for me not to work for such a place anyway. But needless to say, I'm very disappointed. And I cried, I screamed, I said a lot of crap that I don't believe for even an instant, that I'm worthless and all that jazz. And it's like, I know I'm not worthless. I know that, but in a lot of fit of anger, people say a lot of stuff that they don't really believe about themselves. And I think that that was what happened yesterday. I was very angry and very upset. And I'm still pretty upset about it, but I'm also thinking, how do we deal with disappointment when we look, when we're optimistic about something and then it falls through? How do we deal with that? How do we just put our best foot forward and move on from it as opposed to sitting and allowing it to just eat us alive? And I decided I'm not going to look for a job. I'm just not. Number one, I'm 55 years old, and I've been trying for 20 years to find a job, and it just has not worked out. There's always been some wrench thrown into the works that has just not worked out. Now, granted, this is not me saying I'm feeling sorry for myself and all that. This is just a reality. This is just the reality of everything. That I've tried for 20 years or so to get a job. I've been on a couple of interviews. I've talked to people. I've, sent emails. I've, done everything. And it's just been for naught. And so, how do I move on from this? And so that's the question that I have to ask is how do I move on? How do you move on when you basically have wanted something so desperately and then have the rug pulled out from under you? How do you contend with that? How do you move on from it? And in an instance, there is this feeling of self-pity and self-recrimination that comes over a person when they have dealt with something really, really negative. But in all the times that I've been studying and learning tarot, the one thing that I've realized is that a lot of the stuff that has happened to me has been predicted. The cards have actually been pretty accurate in predicting what's going to happen. The cards were predicting how the job search was going to go, and they actually were with the Gilded Tarot Royale, and I thought that I'd used the wrong deck, but maybe it was the right deck after all. Maybe the deck that I had chosen to use was the actual right deck to use. But the cards didn't give me what I wanted to hear. They didn't give me the answer that I wanted or that I had looked for or that I had hoped to get. And there's no way of interpreting whether or not something is going to be what you want it to be. It's just the same as when somebody asks when the orange problem is going to no longer be on this plane of existence. You want to hear people say, you know, whatever it is that they say. You want them to be you want them to say what you hope that they will say, as opposed to what's reality is. And so that is where I'm at right now. That is the juncture where I'm at right now. How do I know if what I'm reading in the cards is true? How do I know if what I'm reading is what I really need to hear as opposed to what I want to hear? And so what I decided that I was going to do was I was going to try and pull some cards and just see where I go from here. Where is life going to lead me now with this? Um, because I I think that what happened with regards to all of this, I think everything that happened, it may have happened for a reason, and I may be just sitting here grinding my gears about it as to whether or not I am, able to contend with it, or if I am just grasping at straws. Because at this point, um, it really doesn't matter. It really, when I look at all of this, I'm not defined by jobs and that kind of stuff. I'm defined by who I am as a person and what my role is in this world. So, I'm going to ask the cards, what can you tell me now? Where do I go from here? So, when you feel disappointed about something and you wonder, you question yourself and you question your validity in the role in everything that's going on, where do you go? What do you do when you're so disappointed in something that you just can't even think straight, or you can't even contemplate why it is that this happened the way it did? So I'm going to ask the cards. I'm going to get some guidance from the cards. I'm going to see what they have to tell me. At this point, I don't much care what they say, and I know that that sounds really jaded and stuff. I don't care what they say. I just want to know what they have to tell me. So I'm going into this completely blindly, thinking, okay, here they are, here are the cards, here I am, sitting here shuffling them. What can you tell me? Because at this point, I have no idea where to go from here. I really do not know if I should keep looking for something or if I should just say screw it and move on and just do my thing. Write stories or learn tarot or make dresses for teddy bears or make clothing for me or make something and not allow this to bring me down. It's like at a certain point I just say I'm not going to feel sorry for myself anymore. I'm going to move on. I'm going to, you know, take the next step. But I don't know what that next step is. I have no idea. So that's where I'm at. So let's just see what the cards have to say. And I think this is something that anybody can do. And I'm doing this. I'm kind of bearing my soul here on this because my life has always been. I've always been defined by where what my job is, what I do. People have always gauged my success or failure on how much money I make or what I do career-wise, et cetera, et cetera. And so all of my life, my worth has always been gauged on where I've been employed and not on who I am as a person. And so when you get rejected from a job, then it's like the possibility of gauging who you are as a person goes out the window. How do you deal with that? How do you work through the disappointment of that? And I want to try and work through that here with you right now with the cards and see if there's something that I can do that's going to enable me to get through all of this um, unscathed, or at least as much unscathed as possible. So here we go. Okay, there's a telling me to stop. So oh, here we go. And the card that came up is the star card. And I have to cover up the boobies because I don't want to get pinged by YouTube. And the star card is about maybe seeing that light in the midst of the darkness, finding that light and finding that pinpoint of light and seeing if there's something positive that can be taken away from that experience or from that disappointment that you can take away from it and you can enhance it and empower yourself through it and not just sit there and go, ho hum, this is what's happened to me. But to be able to take that pin of light and be able to use that light as a way to overcome whatever it is that you're trying to overcome. It's crossed by the Ace of Wands. And the Ace of Wands, I believe, is about, well, the aces are all about beginnings, new starts. So taking the disappointment and finding a new start, and finding a new path, maybe something completely different, maybe going back to the writing, maybe going back to making clothes as not costumes necessarily, but going back and making things, creating something new, creating something with your hands, and not worrying about what might have been or what could have been, but worry about instead about what one can do to get beyond the things that are happening. The underarching energy is the Five of Cups. Well, that's the disappointment. That's the heartache and sadness and the disappointment that I'm experiencing right now because I did not get the job that I really had aspired to get. But amidst the disappointment, there's still two cups remaining. And so maybe that's just them saying, look, you are right now sad because this is what happened and this is how things turned out. But in end effect, there are still two cups remaining. So your dignity and your pride is still intact. It's just right now it's just been hammered a little bit because you're disappointed in something that happened. But but focus on the two cups that are still remaining and focus on overcoming the sadness and the heartache that you're feeling because of what happened. In the immediate past, you have the Three of Swords. Again, that justifies that is the heartache. That is the sadness, the sorrow, the start of betrayal, the sort of just the feeling of betrayal that you feel about something. Of in my case, it would be about me not getting this job and that feeling that I've been lied to, I've been deceived, that I had been, treated with disregard, that my feelings and my hopes and ambitions have just been just thrown to the wind and said, okay, that's it. But that is that is in the immediate past as opposed to in the future. So the overarching energy is the Four of Pentacles. And I believe that this is about just taking that positive energy that I have, collecting it, putting it together, and determining where I want to go from here. Where is this taking me? Where am I? What is my path really about? Where is this going to lead me? Where am I going to end up when it comes, in terms of this? And is it important for me to go into this area or into this place? And my guides are saying you're overqualified for it, that I was overqualified, that I had too many qualifications, that I was, my enthusiasm and my joy about it was so far reaching that it probably put a shadow on the other people that were there. That's a hard realization. I mean, to be told basically that I don't really normally compare myself to other people, but other people may. That does not stop other people from comparing themselves to me. Maybe I was just overqualified for it. They were intimidated by it, being overqualified for it. Who knows? I don't know. This is just assertions. This is for entertainment only, or this is, I mean, not even entertainment. It's just a realization about how to cope with being disappointed in something. But this may be that I was overqualified and that they didn't need me because I would have cast a shadow on the rest of them because of my qualifications. In the immediate future, we have the Chariot. This is about moving forward. So moving forward, maybe a little more cautiously, but still moving forward, and you know, overcoming the disappointment, the heartache of it. Just overcoming it and just slowly moving forward, eking my way forward, seeing what will happen, seeing what will come next, and getting past the sadness and the heartache and embracing what could possibly come next. And that's what the other reading actually told me too, that if this doesn't work out, which clearly it didn't, that I move forward and I try to find something that will bring me the joy that I need to experience. And that the way to do that is to move forward and not to look back. Internally, you have the Six of Wands. Um, this was that false sense of victory that I had. That's all I can think of as, in terms of it. That I mean, when you look at this guy up on the horse and you see all the people around him, the people are in the shadows and the guy's on the, standing out. And maybe it was my desire to stand out, but it just ended up too much. That sometimes in standing out and sometimes standing up and saying that you're, different or you're unique or what have you, that it ends up turning people off and turning people away. And maybe that's just me trying to evaluate that whether or not my being in the middle or in the center is about me being humble about it and not thinking that I'm the best or anything like that. I didn't think that I was the best. I just wanted to do it. But whatever the case, maybe the humility of it will make me a better person. Externally, you have the Five of Pentacles, another five being left out, being cast out. Um, this is how I feel right now. I feel like I've been just shut out. And it's made me realize that in various groups and in various settings, I feel shut out. That I feel like I'm an outsider, as opposed to being, somebody who was, embraced or um, brought into a group. I feel like I'm an outsider, that I'm an outcast, and I think that is how it looks. When I look at the various things that I do and the various activities that I do, I feel sometimes I feel like an outsider. I feel like that I don't belong in there. And I don't want to I don't want to focus on that much. But the feelings are there and they're real and that they have to be kind of expressed before one can really move forward. So maybe I need to look at deeply at the things that I'm doing and see where do I feel like an outcast and where do I feel like I'm a part of something. And then the places where I feel like I'm an outcast, maybe I should just graciously say goodbye and move on. But I don't know. Hopes and fears and wants. This is a burden. Carrying this heavy burden, carrying this load. Been carrying it for a while. Yeah. That sense of where do I belong? Where do I fit in? Where am I? Do I fit in? Do I belong? It's my load to carry. It's my cross to bear. Final outcome? Five of Wands. Conflict. Maybe this is the internal conflict that I'm kind of recognizing now. A lot of fives in this. A lot of heartache, a lot of disappointment, a lot of sadness. But it is also this idea that maybe things will get better. That now that I recognize this and recognize these shortcomings and recognize the things that are going on, that can get through it. At the base of the deck, we have the Seven of Wands, which is standing my ground and holding my own. The Moon. This is, I always think of howling at the moon or so, but I'm not really sure. I don't know where. I'm as confused as now as I was when I first started this, so yeah. Let's see. Since I did this with the job search thing, I'm gonna try it with I'm gonna try it with this now. I'm gonna see what the Black Cat Tarot has to tell me. Because at this point, I'm at a loss. And I will admit it straight up, I'm completely at a loss. So let's try the Black Cat Tarot and see what they have to say. We'll pull a few cards on that, and then I'm gonna wrap up. Well, I got the Knight of Wands. And what's really interesting is when I looked at the base of the deck on the other cards, I saw the Knight of Wands. I didn't pull it up, but I saw it. Um, I'm going to, I'm just going to do this real quick. I know that this is with the other deck, but I'm going to pull I'm going to pull this because I I find it to be really, really interesting that I pull the Knight of Wands when um when I saw it on the other deck, when I saw it on the back of the other deck. So there was something there. Your passion is moving you ahead very quickly. Whatever you are facing, you are excited about it. You are ready for a grand adventure. If one doesn't come to you, you will go out and find it. Ironic. That should have been in in the past, but it's not. It's basically where I'm at. I'm ready for a grand adventure. At least that's what this card says. Crossed with the Six of Cups. This is a nostalgia. So it's like thinking back on all the things that I had done before and all the things that I had, you know, experienced before. And maybe this is what's holding me back. It's that I failed so many times that I've kind of programmed myself to fail again. And the reason that this failure is so hard is because I was so optimistic about it. And now I'm not. Anyway, the phone's ringing, so I need to pause this for a second. Just okay. My husband took care of it. Apparently, the thieves, I guess you could call them, are trying to call us again. They keep calling this number. They call us just about every day at a certain time, trying to get us to answer the phone, but we won't. We refuse to answer it. Thank goodness for caller ID, because once we see the number, we know it's not a legitimate number. It's a thief. Okay, the underarching energy is the Queen of Pentacles. And this is the queen who has all of the things that she needs, that she doesn't need. Maybe in the end effects, maybe what all of this means is that I don't need this. That in that I really do not need it. And that maybe my adventure lies elsewhere and that I don't need what what uh, what I thought I would try and get. So maybe it was just a question of whether or not I needed it and whether or not it was a good thing for me. In the immediate past, we have the Wheel of Fortune. This is just trying. This is just giving it a go and seeing what happens. And that's what I did. I gave it a go to see what happened. Overarching energy is the Five of Wands. Again, the Five of Wands shows up as the conflict, as the, as this conflicting emotions inside of me. It's not a conflict with external forces. It's not a conflict with the people. It's not a conflict with anybody. It's a conflict within myself. In the immediate future, we have the Nine of Pentacles, which is this is the recognition that I have all that I need and that I don't really need more. Maybe that's what all of this is about. Maybe it's just me recognizing that I have what I need. I have what things I need. I don't need anything else, and um, I don't need to put myself into this sort of box where I have to have it, or where it defines me, or it defines who I am as a person. Maybe that's just what it is. I have what I need, and I don't need more. Uh, Internally, I have the Ten of Pentacles, and this is the affirming. Nine of Pentacles was like coming to the end. The Ten of Pentacles is at the end of a journey and the start of something new. So recognizing that I am at the end of this particular journey and that prosperity will come to me in another way and it's not through all of this. Externally, we have the Ace of Pentacles, a lot of Pentacles energy. This is about having enough. This is internally, I had the Ten of Pentacles, and externally, the Ace of Pentacles. This was like the ending of a cycle and the beginning of a new one. Hopes and fears, the Ten of Swords. And that's another ending cycle. It's another ending cycle. I'm feeling a little bit better about all this now through these cards. One would think that the Ten of Swords is is like, you know, on the Rider-Waite deck, they have those swords and they're like piercing the back of the person. Well, this isn't piercing the kitty. This is basically saying, okay, this is the ending of a cycle, and that we're at the end of one cycle and we're starting another. And you notice how on these cards there's like always the moon there. And I got the moon in the other deck, and now I'm getting the pictures, images of the moon on a lot of these cards. Let me see. Yeah. The first card out was the Knight of Wands, and it looked like a moon at the back. Okay. Final outcome. You can't make this up. It's the moon card. So I once heard somebody say something about the moon and saying, "What do you like better, the sun or the moon?" And somebody said the moon because when the sun's not out, then you can always look towards the moon. And I thought that was kind of weird because the moon actually lights up from the sun's reflection upon it. I mean, this is scientifically established that when the moon is just a dark thing, it's just a dark object in the sky. The reason that you see the moon is because the sun is reflecting upon it. So when you see the light of the moon, depending on the phases of the moon and depending on how much of the sun's light is caught by the moon or is reflects upon the moon. So the moon is in essence, it's part of the sun, it's part of the energy of the sun, but it's also casting light in the darkest days. I also had the star card come up. The star card is finding that pinpoint of light within the darkness of the day. So the moon is also in essence about accepting that, embracing that light that comes from the sun. So it's not directly the sun itself, but it is the light from the sun reflecting from the moon. And so that becomes an important aspect. And the moon is actually an aspect of things that throughout time and history, people do actually astrologically, the phases of the moon are important, and also in various sciences and astronomy and in various sciences, people do refer back to the moon and the significance of the moon on life as it reflects onto Earth. So that's just that's just me thinking aloud in terms of this card as a final outcome card. But I thought it was interesting that I was talking about the moon and about the moon in the earlier, and then I pick up the last card and it's the moon card. So. So let's see what the base has. Seven of Swords. These cards are just gorgeous. Seven of Swords. And the Nine of Swords. And the Two of Pentacles. And the King of Cups. Um, I don't know. I don't know what these cards are actually telling me. I'm actually getting a feeling as opposed to a message. And the feeling is this too shall pass, that things will move on, things will get better, that once I finish grieving this loss or this not happening or whatever you want to call it, um, things will get better and that there will be an opportunity that presents itself to me. But I think that there was a reason why I pulled the Gilded Tarot first, with regards to the job search, and then thinking that I was doing it wrong or thinking that it was wrong. It wasn't wrong. It was the cards were telling me exactly what happened, and I just didn't want to hear it. I was not ready to hear it. And so this doesn't mean that I'm stupid. It just means that I misinterpreted the cards because I didn't want to see the truth for what it was. But maybe I'm overqualified. Maybe I just didn't need it. And it's not going to rob me of the love that I have about all this. But it is a recognition of the truth that there is something to these cards. There is absolutely something to them. Because when I go back and I look at that other video that I did with regards to the job search, then I have a whole new way of looking at it, and I see it in a different way, and I can't change it. I can just accept it for what it is. And in the long and the short of it, the cards are not always going to be 100% accurate. Or maybe they will be accurate, but in the interpretation of how we read them or how we view them or how we look at them will have an impact on the cards themselves. Like when I pull a Ten of Swords and I see it in a positive way, it may not be in a positive way, it may be in a negative way. It just may be a lesson that I have to learn through that particular card. When I pull the Star card and I say that it's, what I would have thought. I have to look at that other video. I have to see what I think about it, and maybe I'll go back and I'll look at it again, and then what I'll try and do is just try to gauge how I interpreted the cards when I pulled them then, and what I would do now if I were to pull them again. So I may do that. I may not. I don't know. I mean, I know that there's a lesson in just about everything that happens. But at this juncture, I don't really want to dredge it up. I just want to move on. I want to find something that brings me joy and happiness, and I want to move on from this. I don't want to look back at it anymore because it's over. It's done. And how I deal with that disappointment remains to be seen. I will see what I want to do, where I want to go, and how I want to contend with it in due course. So, thank you for watching. This was very depressing, but I think it was necessary because I think I needed to do it. I think I needed to say something and not just sit there grinding my gears about this and wondering what it is that I did that was so wrong that they didn't want me. Because I've already done that. I've already asked myself that question yesterday when I cried, when I, stomped my feet, and when I, went for a walk and just thought about everything and allowed myself the time to just grieve what it is that I had lost. Because in end effect, it's really not that significant. But to me, it was because I had put all my hope and all my optimism into it, and I was very, very hopeful about it. And so if there's anything to be learned from this, maybe it will help in other people who watch this, seeing how one deals with disappointment and what one does, what one can do in the face of disappointment. So I leave you with that, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Hope you have a great start to the new week, and I'll keep you posted on how things are going. But I'm gonna get better, and it's gonna get better. This too shall pass, and you know there are worse things going on in the world than just not getting a job. So I'll get through it. But anyway, thank you for watching, and take care. And as always, namaste.